So what is Comfy Studios to you? For me, Comfy Studios, it's a place where Tristan and I and all of our friends, we can come together and creatively make whatever it is we want to make.
So what Comfy Studios means to me is it's one of my favorite creative outlets that I have. It is one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Comfy Studios to me is a fun activity and a good sort of friend hangout. I'll never forget a lot of the stuff that we've done so far.
So, what is Comfy Studios to me? Well, kind of my life.
Comfy Studios, although technically being created in the summer of 2021, has lived in spirit long before the first legitimate production, thus being Standoff. Therefore, Spirits being the short series of interconnecting videos by young creative mind, co-founder Tristan Backstrom. These videos, known as Shamrock Hunting Seamus, Dare Slills, Mr. Chef, and Redneck Randy, those being the most known. Seamus being a shamrock hunting leprechaun, often seen going on tangents or acting out in fits of violence in an attempt to capture and retrieve said shamrock, often accompanied by his shamrock friend, Larry the Leprechaun. Dare Slills being a Bear Grylls imitation, but has shapeshifted through the years into his own unique individual. Mr. Chef being a chef that happens to be horrible at his job. He's seen making disgusting dishes. Redneck Randy being a stereotypical redneck man seen doing his thing. Randy has also progressed through the years alongside Dare Slills.
So, my mindset during all of those, everything that I did back then, that was about 6 to 7 years ago. I was about 9 or 10 when I first started that stuff. And what it did for me, like as a current person, it shows me that you can do anything. Like what I was doing back then was I was essentially playing. I was coming up with stories and I'd put on costumes and I'd act it out with my brothers, and it was everything to me at that time, if I'm being quite frank. And it shows to me right now that I'm using that form of creativity that I have, and I'm putting it to a current outlet that is just as important to me as it was back then.
Although the forces of Tristan Backstrom, thus Future, wouldn't be here today without Comfy Studios' other creative mind, Dom Scott.
My role in Comfy Studios is usually producing, directing, editing, writing, acting, pretty much everything. Alongside Tristan, it's just a matter of whose project we're working on. Like if it's a Tristan project, usually I'm going to be acting and help producing in it. But if it's my own project, he'll take care of those roles. Meanwhile, I'll write a script and direct the project, and if I have to, I'll be in it myself, like with Spider-Man. We needed people, and I was willing to fulfill one of the many roles in all the projects.
Comfy Studios, starting with Standoff in the summer of 2021, starring Dom Scott, writer, director, and actor, Tristan Backstrom, and Brett Rose.
So, Standoff came about when Tristan and I were hanging out at his house, his old house. We were thinking of something to do because we both enjoy filmmaking, and I hadn't had the people to really do it yet. And the first thing I wanted to do, because I'm a big Westerns fan, was make a Western. And so we got together, we spitballed some ideas, we got wardrobe and props, and we got it together.
My time with Comfy Studios started with Standoff, which you may have seen if you're watching this, but it was a Western. It was a very low-budget Western that we decided to do in like 2 weekends. It was fun.
Standoff being a hard to watch by all creative minds, a part of this still huge stepping stone.
Now, looking back at it, it's okay. Like, it's not the greatest thing ever. I never claimed it to be. But it's definitely important for what it did and what it allowed us to realize what we can do as filmmakers. So, Portrayed Poorly started off with a school project, actually, for Huckleberry Finn. I call it Portrayed Poorly just because I thought it was funny and, you know, self-deprecating idea behind, oh, hey, we're taking this source material and we're recreating it in a very poor manner. And that eventually expanded us to realizing, oh, hey, what if we did, like, movie parodies? And that eventually spun off into doing Spider-Man, and then eventually American Psycho, and then JoJo, I believe.
Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 Portrayed Poorly. The Spider-Man Portrayed Poorly series is a somewhat accurate remaking of the Tobey Maguire's 2002 Spider-Man.
Spider-Man Portrayed Poorly is one of our most important series, if you want to call it that, trilogy, whatever. The first one really allowed us to realize how much we could do in a day. It really allowed us to realize, oh, hey, we can put together a 25-minute film after one day of shooting. So it really expanded our plans and ideas and what we really wanted to do.
It's okay, I'll protect you. Man, maybe I should start yelling.
Get off of me!
Spider-Man.
So basically, we just filmed 2 out of the 3 stopping crime stuff.
No, we're doing let's do like 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4. But the really funny thing is, people keep arguing down and like, yeah, Spider-Man, or what are you doing?
With the first of the 3 remakes being 25 minutes long and a legitimate cast of 5 people and main function being 3, Brett Rose playing Spider-Man, Dom Scott playing the Green Goblin, and Tristan Backstrom playing every other character. Spider-Man 2 being the slightly less bad and funnier counterpart to the trilogy is made up of the same exact cast as the first one.
Spider-Man 2, it's like the slightly better counterpart to Spider-Man 1. It's got a little bit more of an advanced humor, in my opinion. I'm seen playing Doc Ock. Amazing role, by the way. Amazing role. I had so much fun. It was ridiculous.
The production being 27 minutes and sitting at 3,500 views, being the second most viewed video on the channel. Brett Rose playing Spider-Man, of course, Tristan Backstrom playing Doc Ock, and Dom Scott playing the miscellaneous randoms. Spider-Man 3 being the final and most thought out in the series, with an expanded cast of 14, an extreme number compared to where it had originally started.
Instead of doing 1 page of storyboard, we did 2 pages of storyboard. And it's just bonkers. It's like a bonkers film. And it's crazy.
An astonishing 43 minutes long and sitting at 13,000 views as of the making of this, thus being the largest and most viewed film on Comfy Studios.
Spider-Man 3 really came out, and that one is my favorite of all 3, obviously because it's the most recent out of all of them, but also the cast is the biggest out of all of them. I think it was close to like 12 people, whereas the original 2 were like 3 to 5. So, and also just the scale. We knew going into the third one that because it was the end of our trilogy there of Spider-Man, and it had such importance to us that we wanted to really expand the amount of plot we covered. Because previously in the first 2, we only did 1 page of storyboards. And it was just like, you know, a grid of, alright, this scene, this scene, this scene. And then we would make sure the night before to watch the movie, or at least watch it recently. So that way we knew the gist of the plot, and then it's basically a spark notes. But with the second one, what we did is we did 2 pages, so we could really give the series a good old send off, and just the editing, the jokes, the timing, everything we managed to fit into that it's still probably my favorite thing we've ever done.
I really didn't have any big role. I think I was a guy reading a newspaper. I was the AK aggressor. I was MJ in one of the scenes just because we didn't have our actor for that. And I think I held the camera a few times. That's it. But that was my first movie with Comfy Studios.
What's American Psycho portrayed poorly? Funny you ask. No, seriously, American Psycho is the second portrayed poorly ever made.
Ready? Go.
Following Patrick Bateman, played by Tristan Backstrom, as he descends down his own psychological rabbit hole.
American Psycho portrayed poorly is a fun one because I feel like with that one and then doing Gonna Stab You and stuff, we really started to up our game. The humor in the American Psycho portrayed poorly video is really top notch in my opinion, and also really portrays, no pun intended, but Tristan's like physical performance abilities, but also humor-wise is when we really started to amp up and start being like, alright, screw it, let's just curse in our videos. And I think from that point on is really when we started to just let loose and not limit ourselves.
Gonna Stab You and Stuff. Gonna Stab You and Stuff being one of the first original horror comedy Comfy Studios films ever put out. Written and directed by Tristan Backstrom, you follow Todd and Dennis in their journey to kill an evil masked murderer.
Gonna Stab You and Stuff is like one of my first real major creations, and I'm talking about like me specifically. I took like five months to write it out, and it was awesome. And I didn't really take like a standard writing technique when I went in to like, you know, turn it into a script. I was like, this is funny. I like this. Let's do it.
Killer being portrayed by Ethan Backstrom. Gonna Stab You and Stuff being peak Comfy Studios with its extreme humor and style of filming. One of the most favored aspects of the film is the usage of Santa.
My first ever role with Comfy Studios, I'm Gonna Stab You and Stuff, was probably the first time they're starting their own sort of joke horror, you know? There was a bunch of bits and stuff to kind of, like Scary Movie. It was a pretty good time on set. It was very goofy, first time doing everything. Didn't even know what character I was going to play when I came out on set. They just kind of threw me on a couch, we started rolling. I started up the voice. Hello. It was a pretty enjoyable experience.
Gonna Shoot You and Stuff. Gonna Shoot You and Stuff is an unasked for sequel of Gonna Stab You and Stuff. Same characters, same premises. The killer just has a gun instead of a knife. The humor seems a little more on paper considering the professional script formatting, although not too serious considering Tristan's absurd writing style and jokes.
Gonna Stab You and Stuff, Gonna Shoot You stuff are really fun Tristan projects, and they were really fun to work on, and I think he really achieved his goal of making a really fun buddy film that's like a horror comedy, and it's got a lot of great humor in it and gags and visual stuff. And I think Gonna Shoot You and Stuff is the better of the two, but it's, you know, obviously he's gonna have more skills by then, but overall I think it's a really well executed film.
Into the Darkness.
Into the Darkness has to be one of Comfy Studios' like biggest, I'm gonna call it an accomplishment. Yeah.
Into the Darkness was really quite the project, considering it's not even done. Production started in October of 2023.
In Into the Darkness, I played Mr. Jones, and basically, he's just a snake. He's just a shark. He just likes screwing people over. Not a good dude. Kind of, just like probably the person who led the main character down the deepest hole. Yeah.
It's noted to be the most detailed production Comfy Studios has ever faced. The story follows Richie, a renowned drug dealer, when a branch of his empire is weakened. His colors show on what he will do to keep his empire alive.
Into the Darkness is an interesting film, in my opinion, because it was one of the first things I wrote after going to Point Park, and I think we achieved a really cool stylistic film. It definitely helped evolve my style, and from that point on it really helped me decide what I wanted to do as a filmmaker.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure betrayed poorly. JoJo's was one of those that was such a hot mess. We were on a time crunch with our cast. It was like 99 degrees outside. It was just torture. It was that kind of torture that made you feel accomplished, though.
The JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Portrayed Poorly was a fun film to make. We had a lot of fun filming that really cool location that we hadn't been to before. But also, personally, it felt like a step back because it was a lot more rushed, and especially after Spider-Man 3. Personally, it didn't live up to the expectations I had set for myself, but I still think it's really funny.
Released July 2023, it's seen as one of the most comedic projects Comfy Studios has faced. Almost every scene is funny.
So, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was a pretty funny one. I think I played Jack the Ripper. One of the minions with the snake stuff on the snake hair. I don't even remember. And I think I was also one of the rugby players. So, yeah.
The Homeless Guy Movie. The Homeless Guy Movie is an amazing film, just not played out well at all.
As the director of The Homeless Guy, I personally think it's not the best thing I've ever done. Like, I think I felt like we were in a rush, specifically because at the time of filming, Dom was about to head off to college, and we only had like a couple days to shoot it, and I didn't want to, I felt like I couldn't really take my time and place out my shots properly, and that just kind of made me upset, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Not that it's a bad film at all. It's hilarious. I mean, it's funny. It's really funny. But yeah, it's just what I think.
The Homeless Guy Movie is deemed to be somewhat of a failure due to the fact that it has 93 views. Comfy Shorts. What are they?
So, what are Comfy Shorts? They are our short form content that we used to do about 1 or 2 years ago when we first started, because we wanted to adamantly upload like as much as we could, like once, maybe twice a week. We did it twice a week for a while there. But you see the issue with that, us trying to do more short form content, it got in the way with our long form content, and it was just less quality. It was less us. We didn't want it to be bad quality.
At the end of the day, we may not be the most consistent or the most reliable source of entertainment, but we choose to be the future of entertainment. Please stick with us and continue watching. We're going to have a very long road ahead of us. Please continue with us. Sincerely, Comfy Studios cast and crew.